and welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. Good afternoon, everybody. You know, there are people that have created an adventure of the lifetime, and one of them is with us today. So we're going to talk about the adventure that she has created in a couple of different lifetimes in this lifetime. So she's done some really remarkable things. If you've ever thought, and I know that, you know, you go on YouTube and you go to TED Talks and you go to some of these other places. Have you ever thought about what it would be like? What it's really like to be a professional speaker that gets on an airplane, sits in a hotel, and then goes to a conference and then gives her talk or her speech or her seminar, whatever she's booked for that day, and then she gets back to the hotel and has a quiet evening and then gets on a plane and then goes to someplace else. That's kind of the life of it's like that old movie, A Hard Day's Night, when they said, we're in a room and a train and a train and a room and another room, and I want to get out and see the world. But in this case, Lisa Demmi is with us. She's a keynote professional speaker, and she used to have a marketing company. She's now traveling the globe doing great things for people, and she speaks to people about things that are interesting to them and can also give them another perspective on life, I would suspect. Lisa, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. You make it sound so enticing, Kevin.
I know. Well, it's fun when you think about it. It's like I used to be a traveling salesman, and I had somebody say, boy, you must have a great deal of fun. You get to go have fancy meals and restaurants, and that some of that's true, but then a lot of it is room service by McDonald's in the Motel 6 watching CNN on a Thursday night or whatever it is. And so it's got its ups and downs, but by
For
and
sure.
large, if you're going to help people and you're going to provide them with guidance that they might not get anywhere else, that really is a calling. Would you consider what you do your calling?
I do. If I didn't have those pesky little things called bills, I would probably do this for free. Yeah, it's something that my mom ingrained this in all of her kids to be good people, and I think she kind of was the voice for so many people when we were young. And so I feel, she taught us how to use our voices. And so now she passed away. And I feel like, now it's our turn to kind of pick it up and take it where she was going. Although she wasn't a professional speaker, she was a stay-at-home mom. But I really do think that she influenced so many people's lives, just by being so compassionate and kind. And, she was kind of that mom who like grabbed everybody into to the house. Everybody called her name was, they called her Mama Sandra. So
Well, you bring up an interesting point, and I want to make sure that everybody understands this. You're a professional speaker.
mhm,
Would like to consider myself a professional radio broadcaster, but that doesn't mean that we're the only people that affect people's lives. You can affect
true.
people's lives by being a stay-at-home mom and having all
Absolutely.
the kids in the neighborhood come by and say, and they adopt you as their mom, or just going
Yeah.
to the grocery store, or being a bus driver, which I used to do, and stuff. You can really positively impact people, and I want people to know that you don't have to be wild and famous like Lisa is wild and famous.
The check's in the mail, Kevin.
Thank you. I can use all the checks I can find. But really, when you think about it, because your mission in life is to help people understand who they really are and give them a bit of a blueprint on how to do it. Would I be misstating that in any way?
No, that's definitely part of it. I mean, my mission in life is to change the world. That being said,
Do you think
I can only be so many places at once. So,
I was gonna say, do you think that maybe you're selling yourself short and you're not coming up with a big enough goal? I mean, saving the
you
world
mean like the
is
universe or the galaxy or
yeah,
yeah,
save
baby
places that you
steps,
don't.
baby steps, Kevin, baby steps. Yeah.
Well, but when you think about it, there are 8 billion people that are here, and we all could learn how to live our lives a little bit more completely, a little friendlier, a little kinder. And
Mhm.
can you imagine how you could change the world if you could convince everybody to do that and be that way?
I that is just a dream. Like I know I can't change everybody on the planet, but I can change a few people. And I think we might both be old enough. You remember that commercial? And they'll tell two people, and so on and so on and so on.
Yep.
I'm hoping that it'll be kind of like that, where a few people can be affected by me, and a few people can be affected by you, and then and it's like a dominoes, if you will. And so, I used to think, man, I've really got to do this big so that I could make a big impact. But then I realized that I was already doing it.
Yeah. Well, you remember that old thing? Would you rather have $1 million or a penny doubled every day for a month?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's it.
And so somebody's going, let's see, $1 million. And I'll take the $1 million. Well, I
Yeah.
want you to get the calculator out. And if you double a penny a day for 30 days on day 25, 26, 27, you're going to outstrip that by wild margins.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
that's what you do when you are in front of an audience and okay, let me ask you. When you're in front of an audience and you're speaking to somebody and you see somebody's eyes light up, what does that do for you?
That's like I mean, that's why I do it. I love to see people go, "Oh my god," like I hope that one person's life is made better when I leave that room. I would hope that everybody would take a little something with them. And when I see the light bulb go off and they go, "Oh my gosh, I can do that. I can do big things. I can make a difference. I am worthy. I am, someone who deserves this." And to see people get that is just, it's like Christmas Day.
It makes your whole week, month, and year.
Yes. I mean, I'm on a high for after that. When I see that after I speak and I see people get it, you could not do anything to hurt me for at least a couple good days.
And I'm willing to bet that when you speak and after you're done and the conference is breaking up, that there are people that always come up to you and say, Lisa, I just got to tell you what you said to me resonated with me so deeply. I want you to know how important what you did was to me. That's your happy dance time.
Man, listen, last year I spoke in Connecticut around this time, and I spoke for a big group, and there were about 800 people in the room. And this gentleman walks up to me after the presentation. I was eating some lunch, and he comes up to me, and I'm in the room by myself. It's a giant room, and I'm in the room by myself. And he kind of like sneaks up to the table and is like, I don't want to interrupt you, but I just wanted to let you know that my wife is in this organization. I kind of snuck in, and what you said really was impactful to me. And he and I have stayed in touch, and they are from up north, and they came down on vacation to, they flew into Tampa, and we met up and we had lunch, and we, kind of talked to each other every so often. So that was really cool for me. I mean, the guy wasn't even there for the presentation. He was in there because his wife was there. And he came up to me, and now, I have a new friend. So
Well, and it was something that you said. You remember anything about what it was that you said?
I mean, it was an hour-long keynote, and I don't remember what it was that I don't remember specifically what it was, but that group, I remember that group specifically, and they were on fire. That was such a fun presentation because, I mean, I could have handed the mic to any one of them, but, by 30 minutes in, they could have taken over. It would have been great. I just sat there and listened to them. And I think it was just the energy in the room and the participation, and everybody was just really open to having a conversation about goals and making a difference and being a good person. And it was just a really great group. I was really that was a really good one for me. Yeah.
Let's go back, way back into the mists of time. How did you decide to do this? Where did was it something that you said, woke up one day, an angel came down and tapped you on the head with his wand and said, "You're going to be a speaker," or was it that simple? What motivated you, and how did this all begin?
I always people always ask me, when did you first start speaking? And I said, when I came out of the womb. I think that I was born to be a performer of some kind. And I was always that kid in school who, the report card would come home and my mom would be like, "You're the girl who talks all the time." And they'd have to move me so I wouldn't talk to Bobby or Joey or Sally or whoever it was. And then I was in a touring band for many, several bands actually for many, many years. So I loved being on stage and I loved, interacting with people and getting that energy. And when the band broke up, as you alluded to, I had a marketing firm and I did a lot of speaking with the marketing firm. And I was like, I like this marketing stuff, but I really like the speaking. And so I sold my firm and I joined National Speakers Association and met a ton of people and got connected and learned how to have a speaking business and learned how to be a better speaker.
Well, and we're going to talk about that and how to be a better speaker and all the things that you've learned over time. But first, I want to. So there wasn't. You were born this way, but you were also in a band. What kind of band were you in?
A rock band. I was in a touring rock band.
Oh, very good. Anybody we might
Yeah.
know?
Probably not. We got really close to being signed, but we toured all over the United States, and we were in one of those. It was kind of one of those things where they didn't really know where to put us. Like, are you a rock band? Are you alternative band? Are you a pop band? We don't really know what to do with you. And then as sometimes families do, the family got angry with each other and broke up. So that ended that.
Oh, there are so few. As a matter of fact, there's a gentleman who's on the Brushwood Media Network. His name is Nathan Osmond. You might recognize the last name
Yeah.
from one of the Osmonds, and he's a nephew of Donnie and Marie.
Huh.
And and family businesses like that tend to not, there's sibling rivalries and all that kind of stuff. So that can
Well,
break
this
people.
was like a family of friends who we had been friends together for a long time. All played in different bands together. But music is so uh, I want to say incestuous, but that's probably not the right word. But
Close.
and after you spend like several years in a van shoved in with like five other people, at some point nerves get shot, and I think that's probably what happened. So I mean, we're all friends now, we're all friendly now, but I think we had to take a break from each other.
I have a friend or a gentleman I just interviewed. His name is Chris, and he did that like 200 days a year. They would get into this mobile home, and they would travel around, and it was a co-ed thing, and there were girls and guys, and there was
Hmm.
sleeping. They had one of the ones that they could sleep in the back. There was a lounge in the middle. They could sleep in the front, and stuff. And they traveled around doing that, and so there was one question I asked him, which was the the comedy tour that Jeff Foxworthy did. I forget the name of it right now, but they traveled around in this thing, and they said that there was only one fast hard rule, and that was that it was okay to use the bathroom and go number one, but
but not number two.
nobody was allowed to go number two until they got to where they were going, or they stopped at a gas station or something like that. Is that kind of an industry wide rule?
Yes, it is, but we weren't even that luxurious. We had a van with no bathroom, so if we had to go to the bathroom at all, we had to either pull over and find a place, or like you said, go to the next gas station or something. So we weren't quite that fancy. We were in a 3-seat van with the 3 rows, and that was about it. And we were all shoved in there together, so no
How many
bathroom.
how many pieces? How many people?
There were 6 of us, but we had a trailer behind that had all the equipment.
Wow. So even six
Yeah.
of you though, it's what do you do? And this is a great study in human nature. What do you do when you have a fight with somebody and then you're going to have to sit in the van with them for 10 hours to the next venue?
That may have happened a few times. I
I'll
mean,
bet.
you just kind of suck it up because, I mean, we in the end we were all friends, and like I said, family, and it was a chosen family, and there were definitely some fights where people were ticked off at people and weren't talking to each other, but you get to the destination, and then you got to put on a show. So it's the show and the energy and the gift of being able to do that. I think kind of wipes away all the ucky and the bad feelings and stuff. With the exception of the one that broke up the band at the end. But I mean, you just do what you have to do. It's like any other job. You can go to work and be in a bad mood and not like Bob who sits in the cubicle next to you, but you got to work with him. So you do what you got to do.
Yeah, and a lot of us, see, most of us don't have the privilege of being able to tour with a band, let alone be able to play an instrument. I've tried, it just doesn't work for me. But when you are in a band or when you are speaking like you are and you're in front of, 800 people, there are a
Mhm.
lot of people that would fall over, and faint if they had to speak in front of 800 people. Is that
I mean,
some
I played in front of thousands and thousands and thousands of people, so 800 really isn't a big number. Although I will tell you this, Kevin, is that I was a bass player, and I remember the first time I spoke, I didn't have like I mean, a bass doesn't hide your body or your person, but the first time I spoke, I was like, man, it sure is scary out here without a bass in front of me. So I mean, I certainly I get energized from the people. That 800 is the most people I've spoken in front of, and people are like, "Wow, were you afraid?" I, once I get on stage, I have no idea what's going on. You could have 2,500 people in there, and I wouldn't have any idea because it's just like this thing that I just transform somehow, and I don't even know what I'm saying half the time. I mean, of course I know what I'm saying, but it just is like it's just this rush of energy for me, and it just is like I said, it's energizing for me. It's not really a scary thing for me. I mean, yeah, there's trepidation and there's some anxiety, but I think that's good. But there's not fear.
I remember I was an actor when I was young, and I remember being center stage down front, which means the curtain is right in front of you. And
Mhm.
you can hear, this was like a dinner theater, and you can hear plates and conversation and things rattling and stuff like that. And the lights slowly go down. The music comes up and everybody quiets down. And then the curtain opens and you're standing there in front of 300 people or whatever it was. And it is the most, for me, it was the most auxiliary experience of my life
Oh yeah, yeah.
because it was like, this is why, and I knew my lines and I knew, but this is really, really, really cool stuff.
Yeah. And
So,
people are like, well, you have to give the same presentation, and yes, I mean the topics are the same, but the truth is I'm not a scripted speaker. I know what my bullet points are. I know what I'm going to talk about, but the truth is that the audience drives the way the presentation goes, at least for me.
I do the same thing when we're talking, as you know. Of course, I
Mhm,
sent you a list of 20 questions that I was going to ask you,
mhm.
and we've done a lot of rehearsals and to get to the. We haven't done any of that. I don't script anything. I have no earthly idea what we're going to talk about until we talk about it, and it's a lot of it's based on your answers and stuff. But I suspect that when you're in front of a room, you're using your intuition
Mhm.
and everything in and your energy and the vibrations and everything to be able to connect with the audience and also to do what inherently they need to hear.
For the most part, yes. I mean, every now and again you'll get a flat audience. Um, you know, um, I just did a virtual engagement not too long ago, and people were in different time zones, and for some people it was midnight, and some people it was 4 o'clock in the morning, and that was a really tough engagement. For a few reasons. They're probably half asleep. We're all over the place. It's on Zoom. So it's really hard to read people that way. But when I'm in front of people in person, then it's so much easier to read the energy. And I typically I don't stand on the stage. I don't stand at a podium. I don't or a lectern. They have to give me a wireless mic because I'm in and out the audience, and I'm super interactive because I think it has to be fun for everybody. And nobody wants to hear someone talk for, like the teacher from
Wah, wah,
Charlie
wah,
Brown,
wah,
blah
wah,
blah
wah,
blah
wah.
blah. Yeah, nobody wants to hear that. It's not fun for anybody else. So I want it to be a conversation, and a lot of times, I would say the majority of times, it is a conversation, and the majority of times, man, we're all having fun and learning at the same time.
That makes it really cool. That makes it really cool. By the way, we're talking
Yeah.
with Lisa Demmi. You should go to lisademmi.com and you can find out all about her. And you can also contact her. And look at that. There is a book Lisa thing right there that you can click on that and you can book her for your very own event. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the things that she talks about at these events, and I hope you'll stay with us. It's just 30 seconds. Calm down.
They have your eyes. They have your ears. They have your smile. Now all they need is a little more of your time. Make a difference in your child's life, because anyone can be a father. It takes time to be a dad.
And welcome back to Positive Talk Radio. My name is Kevin McDonald, and we have a great guest with us today. Her name is Lisa Demmi. She is a keynote speaker. She's got it. She not that I know this, but I found out before we began. She's also an author, which we're going to talk about that because it's not on her website, so I don't know.
That's the marketer in me, Kevin. So fabulous that I am.
So when somebody calls you up and says, "We want you to speak for us and speak to us," and they don't really have any idea what they want you to speak about. They just know they like you and they want you to speak there. What is your favorite topic? What do you like to talk about?
Um, wow, that's a great question. I talk a lot about goal setting and I talk a lot about DEI. I would say they're both of those are my two favorite topics. Goal setting is a really fun, light presentation. It's a light keynote. It's something that gets everybody going. It's not super heavy. A lot of light bulbs go off in that presentation. The DEI presentation, I also try to make that fun, and I use art as part of my tool to to make it stick, if you will. So I'm also an artist, and so I like to incorporate art wherever I can. And I have found that with DEI, some of the art stuff breaks down some of the barriers that maybe wouldn't be broken down if you're just talking to people.
Now, this is for everybody else, including me, who does not know what DEI means. What does DEI
Okay.
stand for?
DEI. So I just forget about that. Thanks for asking me, Kevin. It's DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it is I guess it's kind of a buzzword right now for some people because as you know, in our conversation prior to today, there's some crazy stuff going on in the world today, and
No.
a lot of it has to do with, I know I'm telling you this the first time you've heard it. And people are just a lot of people are getting put in boxes and being treated unfairly and discriminated against. And that's the real passionate thing that I have, is that's the thing that my mom ingrained in me is, fight for the people and speak for the people who don't have a strong enough voice to speak for themselves. So I'm super passionate about that because I don't like it. And I'm not content with just saying I don't like it. I want to do something to change it.
It's important. It is vital, as a
Mhm.
matter of fact, in the society that we have today, where hate, division, and fear seems to be running really, really rampant in everything that we
Yeah.
do. I interviewed. Do you know who Neil Donald Walsh is?
Mm-mm.
He wrote Conversations with God, and
Oh, yes, I know. I know who he is.
yes, and that book was on the New York Times bestseller list for 137 weeks. 100 that's 2.5 years. It was on the, which is crazy. But one of the things that he says in there that I have held near and dear to me is we are all one. We're not
Mhm,
separate from each other. We're not better
mhm,
than. We're not worse than. We're not too black, or we're not too white, or we're not too Asian, or too Indian. We're all one. And we
mhm.
all, if we were to, and that's, I know you're looking to change the world. One of the ways that I think that we could collectively change the world is if we all adopted that philosophy. It would now be there would be no reason for us to hate somebody else, because why would you hate yourself?
Right. I mean, I think we were talking about what it takes to just be nice to somebody, or to just be. I don't even want to say tolerant. I don't like like people are like, well, why don't you just don't can't you just tolerate it? No, I can't tolerate it. Um, I think it's a very simple thing to do is to be nice to someone. To I mean, we're all humans. We're all on the planet. Um, I don't want to start a big um, religious conversation, but a lot of Christians have been the hardest ones for me to reach because they feel that their interpretation of the Bible says, well, you can't be gay, and you can't do this, and you can't do that. And I'm like, well, you can't get tattoos, and you can't get branded, and you can't there's so many things you can't do that supposedly in the Bible. And I think, come on, y'all. I mean, God made us all according to them. I don't think God makes mistakes, and He made us all in His image according to them again. And I know we're going on a tangent here,
No,
Kevin,
that's
but
good.
I just feel like people are people, and I just think it's crazy to discriminate against someone for the color of their skin, or who they worship, or who they love, or who they sleep with, or how old they are, or if they're male or female, whatever. I just that just continues to blow my mind.
It is not a functional system if that's the way that we're all going to behave. I got a quick joke for you. There is man dies, and he goes to the pearly gates, and St. Peter's standing there, and gives him the information, and invites him in. So he's in, and he's looking around, and he's being guided, and an orientation kind of thing. And they're walking around, and they walk by one of the rooms, and there's a sign on the door that says "Quiet, please," and the door is closed. And he said, "Well, everybody else seems so happy here. Why is the door closed?" And he said, "Shh, those are the Christians. They think they're the only ones up here." So, so,
Oh my gosh.
so yes, I'm going to get mail for that. You can email me at
Yeah,
Lisa at. No, I'm kidding.
yeah. Thanks, Kevin.
Hey, you're welcome. Anytime. Anytime.
I
Well,
mean, I
Lisa,
think we have to talk about the tough things, you know. You gotta talk about the things that are polarizing because that's where the change happens.
exactly. And at the same time, we need to have a sense of humor about it, and we also need
Right.
to recognize that
Mhm.
it, when you feel a certain way about something and it doesn't reflect well on everyone, then it's not good for anyone. The
Right.
gospel, according to Bruce Springsteen, said right before he goes into Born to Run, he said, Nobody wins unless everybody wins." And so
Yeah.
there is, that philosophy going around. By the way, we're talking with Lisa Demmi, and we're going to talk more about this important topic because I think it really is that when we learn that we are no better, no worse. We're equal, and we've all got room on this planet to grow. And think about the fact that how many people we could save if we all looked at each other and said, we're going to all work together to eliminate hunger and all of these things. So we're going to talk about it. Can we talk about that when we come back, please?
We sure can.
I appreciate that. Again, we're talking with Lisa Demmi. Go to lisademmi.com, find out all about her. She's a keynote speaker. She's an author. Not so you'd know, but she's an author and she's a marketer and she's a very, very nice, what I would term a very nice human being. And we will be right back after this station break. Stay with us.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. And I just got to say, Lisa, that, the Brushwood Media Group and Brushwood Media Network put together some of these public service announcements for me to play.
Mm-hmm.
And I really love the message of them and what they're trying to get across. 4.5 million in the United States of America. There are 4.5 million kids that are going to go to bed tonight someplace other than their own bed. We can do so much better, don't you think?
I mean, all the money we're spending on hate, if we just redirected that money and spent it on love and acceptance and helping each other. I know it sounds naive, and you know what? I used to say I hate being naive, but guess what? I don't. I'd rather be naive and a loving person and see everyone in the best light. I still have my guard up. I'm not stupid, but I think I I wish we could corral our resources and make a difference. And I just feel like it's such a wasted emotion, hate.
It is. It is. And at the end of the day, there really are only two things. There's either fear and love. Fear is or hate is a part of fear. And then when you're fearful of your surroundings, of the people that are around you, or the world that you're living in, then it's easy to hate those things that you either don't understand, don't care to
Mhm.
understand, or believe that for some reason you're separate from them. If
Yeah.
and eliminating all of that, I personally think we'd be a whole bunch better off.
Yeah, I mean, fear is the crux of the whole thing because I've found that when I'm having these tough conversations with people, that it's not that they don't know. It's not that they don't like you, it's that they don't know you. And
Right.
because they don't know you, like, when people get to I came out when I was 23, and I I have never acted any different. I'm married. I'm an upstanding citizen. I pay my taxes. But I have always let people in and let people know who I am. And I have never had a major problem that I'm aware of, because I treat people the way I want to be treated. And even when people don't agree with my way of life, or whatever you want to call it, I still feel like you can have a respectful conversation. And once people get to know me, I like to think that people go, oh, you know what, you're not so bad. And I think that's a really, I always just say I was a really bad gay, because I didn't like, the gay pride parades and the rainbow flags and all of that stuff. And I still really don't. But now I'm more vocal about it, because I feel like if people knew who other people were that they were fearful of, it wouldn't be so scary.
You're exactly right. I have two friends of mine that one is it was when I first started doing the radio. She was a psychic medium at the time, and she ultimately got married to her best friend, and
Mhm.
they are. I have not seen people look at each other. First of all, let me preface this: 50% of the population gets divorced. That's a fact. That's and but there are lots of people who get together and love each other. And I think that we should celebrate that. I don't care who you love. I care that you love. And I care that
Yes.
you have the ability to lead the life that, quite frankly, God gave you. And that when I look at these two people, her name is Julie and her name is Kim, they look at each other with such love, compassion, and just love in their eyes. It is, for me, it's heartwarming because I don't
Mhm.
see that. So when I
Mhm.
get to see that in people, it really is a cool statement of what we can be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's just, I feel like I used to work with this gentleman who was a very, very strong evangelical, and he very, just a really nice guy, but he was convinced I was going to hell. And he gave me a Bible. And we talked a lot about, I mean, I'm not religious. I'll just put it out there. I was born Catholic, but I'm not super religious. I do the holiday, I'm the convenient Catholic, I guess you could call it. Um, but we had a lot of conversations, and as he got to know me, and he got to know my wife, and he got to know who we were, he changed his story.
Hmm.
And I think that that's why I do what I do, because I think people need to know that, you know, I mean, I'm just, like I said, it blows my mind when people think that because someone's skin color is a different color, or because someone's God is called something else, or what have you, whatever the reason that people have to hate. It's just, I just wasn't brought up that way. And so I feel like it's really important for me to kind of spread the word as to, here's what we, like, I think it's an education thing. And so I'm trying to share thoughtful conversations with people, whether it's in one of my presentations, whether it's in a conversation that I have one on one, whether it's something like what we're doing right now. I feel like I need to speak the truth for me and the truth for other people, because they don't have the voice yet.
And in many cases, people who've got a particular opinion about a thing, whatever that thing is, it's because they have not taken the time to look deeply into whatever that is, to decide to figure out that it's no different than anything else. We're all the same. And
Mhm.
and it's a shame, and thank goodness for the work that you're doing, because you can actually change some people who might otherwise think less of you, because when they meet you, it's like, she's a nice lady. I like her. She does a good job. She's a great speaker. She's interested in the betterment of humanity. And that's
Yeah.
where all of us should be, I think. Especially these
I
days.
mean, you would hope so. You would hope so, but you, Kevin, you and I've talked, and you've been around a few blocks, and we know that it's not, 1 + 1 does not always equal 2. So, I think that's good, because I want to grow as a person, so I need to see other points of view. But I also want to be able to rely on other people to have that same philosophy with me. And that's when I think the problems arise, is when people don't want to have constructive conversations. People just want to throw hate around. And then there's the media shares information that, my information is slanted from one side. Maybe someone across the aisle, their information is slanted from another side. So I kind of just feel like if we would just meet each other and just have a conversation, then I think things would change. I've tried to have some meetups here I'm in Tampa, and I've tried to have some meetups. There's a very big Palestinian um, uh, uh, group here in the Tampa Bay area, and there's also a very big Israeli group down here in Tampa. And I'm like, come on, y'all, let's all get together and have a conversation. Nobody ever bites, but they want to get on the internet and talk, SHI to each other, but nobody wants to talk in person. And I think that's getting people to see each other, talk to each other in person is going to make a difference.
They would find that the person that they thought that they were dealing with doesn't exist.
Just like
Because,
them.
yeah, they're just people. And
Yeah.
we're all here trying to do the very best that we can. And when we allow outside influences like that get to us, it's just amazing to me. It's like, I had a conversation with my dear departed mother at one point. She was a fundamentalist Christian, and she said, "Well," I said, "Do you believe people that are gay people are going to hell?" And she said, "Absolutely." And I said, "Why?" "Because they're violating God's law." And they said, "Okay, who made them?" "God." Do you think they God made them the way they are?" "Well, I don't know about that." And then I said, but here's the deal, Mom. So what you're telling people is, there's a segment of our population that, in order to go to heaven, and this is the God, in order for them to go to heaven, they can't live their life to their fullest. They can't love anybody that they choose to love, because it's now it's a bad thing. I personally do not believe God operates that way.
I would like to think he doesn't either.
And that it doesn't matter. I, Lisa, I can promise you this: I don't care what you do in the privacy of your own home. That has nothing to do with me. And all I care about is that you're kind, considerate, and loving to the people that you come into contact with every day, and you are that. So that makes you a special human being.
And that's my mom called me special, but I think she might have meant special in a different way. So
Just get the short bus out. We're going to bring the short bus
yeah,
to
yeah,
you now.
yeah.
No, it's but and I don't mean to be getting on a soapbox, but in the society that we live in right now, there is such a division between people who care for other people and people who consider them the other or not of their group. And
Right.
we're all, number one, we're all Americans, unless of course you never mind, I won't go there. But we all have, I this is how I equate it. Are you a sports fan?
I am. Hmm.
Who's your favorite sports team?
The Buccaneers.
Oh, of course, you're in Florida. By the way,
Yeah.
it must be really unique living in Florida with Mr. Whatever. But
That's a whole other show.
it is. It really is. But this is what I want people to understand. Okay, so you're a Buccaneers fan. And so
Mhm.
everybody buys a ticket. They go to the stadium. There's 60,000 people. They're all cheering for the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers score. People are high-fiving each other. They're hugging strangers. They're having a great time because we scored and we're going to win and stuff. And then everybody leaves, and then they yell at each other as they're driving out of the parking lot because
Yeah.
and they're flipping each other off. And we're going back to our the same way that we were before. But it's so for a moment in time, we were
Yeah.
all together and we were all one. And if we could just duplicate that on a long-term regular basis, I'd be much happier.
Yeah, I mean, it's, it really, I like to say it's simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's simple to be that way, but it's not easy because we have all of these influences around us. My father was a old school Italian man, and he, God forbid, if I didn't go to church on Sunday, or if I mean, he knew I was gay, and he wasn't super thrilled about it, but it took him some time to come around. My youngest sister dated a black man, and he wasn't thrilled about that. I mean, it's just all these old, like, the way he was brought up by his parents carried over with him. And at some point, you have to like break that teaching or that learning. Like, kids don't grow up, like you've seen, a little kid and a little black kid, and kids don't grow up hating each other.
No.
They learn that from somewhere. And so I think, I always say the next generation is healthier than we are in that regard, because they don't care. They don't care about black or white or gay or straight or any of that. They just like to be around people. And I hope that next generation makes a big difference, but it's got to start somewhere. And if I don't, my sisters are asking me why I'm so vocal, and they're like, nobody ever gives you a hard time for being gay. And I'm like, well, first of all, we don't know that, and second of all, it doesn't matter if no one gives me a hard time, because my friends get a hard time. My very best friend is a trans male. He can't even get medication in the state of Florida for anything. He has a hard time finding a doctor for anything. So, I mean, he's basically being run out of the state, and it's frustrating. I feel like sometimes we're taking 3, 4, 5 big steps backwards, and I just don't understand. Like, I keep saying it blows my mind, but it really does. We've made a lot of progress, but we have to get back there again, and that's why I do what I do. I don't. I mean, I work with businesses about DEI, so it's not really a humanity thing. It's about how integrating a proper DEI strategy, if you will, can help your business. But it's just being a good human being on top of it all.
Exactly. And by the way, again, we're talking with Lisa Demmi. Go to her website, lisademmi.com. She's a keynote speaker. She would be a wonderful addition to your event. And so you can book her by going to that site. Lisa, we need to take our final break for just another 30 seconds. We'll be right back. Don't anybody go away.
A lifetime of savings can disappear overnight. Millions of dollars are stolen every day from unsuspecting older adults by family members, caregivers, and trusted professionals. If you suspect financial exploitation, call the Elder Care Locator at 1-800-677-1116 or go online to the National Adult Protective Services Association to be connected with help in your area.
And welcome back, everybody, to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald here on the Brushwood Media Network. And I got to say, if you're older like me and somebody wants to take your money, first of all, I don't have any, so go find somebody else. Secondly, take care of your folks and the folks that have been around on the planet for a long time. They may not know how to run a smartphone, but you can help them avoid some of the pitfalls of people that are trying to take advantage of them. But Lisa, it's great to talk to you, by the way. I really enjoy our conversations together.
You too, Kevin. I knew we hit it off right away when we first talked the first time.
Well, and it's it's great that we can have a conversation. I'm a 60 something heterosexual kind of male because I don't have anybody that I'm dating currently and haven't for a while. But and you're a gay woman, we can get along just fine. We can have a great conversation about how we can work to improve the planet. And then, by the way, if we improve the planet by its very nature, we will improve the lives of everybody who is on the planet. Don't you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, I mean, again, people to say it's naive to think that, we could wipe all of this away. And I don't think we can wipe it all away, but I really feel like we've taken a turn for the worse in the last probably 8 years or so. And it's scary. And it makes me sad. It infuriates me sometimes. But then I see people like you and I talking together, maybe somebody that you wouldn't ever put anybody together with, and that's encouraging, and that makes me feel like we can make a difference. And you talked about changing the world, and it's if I can change my little part of the world, and then you have those little like fingers going out and they can change a few people, I just want to do that. I want to make the place better than when I got here.
I agree with you 100%. One of one of the things that I say occasionally that gets me into trouble is when I say, you know why people get old and die? Because we'll never change if we all stay around. Because the young people that are coming up today are completely different than 50 years ago when I was sort of a young person. Because now the kids, it doesn't matter to them. They don't care what color you are. They don't. I used to drive a bus for a living, and there were three teenage girls that were talking about a particular boy on the bus, and he wasn't there, but they were talking about him, and they were describing him, and it wasn't like, well, he's a white guy. It was he's. They said, what nationality is he? And they said, well, he's Spanish, Puerto Rican, a little Asian, and for them it made no sense. It made no difference
Mm-mm.
to think of him in any other terms than a cute kid with a great complexion. That's the way they thought of him.
Well, I laugh when people say, "Well, I don't see color," and then well, then you're blind, because of course there's color. I think there's, as a white person, yes, I'm gay, but as a white person, I have privilege, and whether I think I do or not, I have privilege because white people on the planet get a lot more than black people do.
Oh, yeah.
I it's just something, people are like, well, I think I take offense to that I have white privilege. I have friends who are black, and that's not what it's about. It's not what it's about until we are on an even an even playing field. White people are always going to have privilege. Um, and so when I hear that kids, I see my niece's friends, and they're all across the board, tall, short, black, white, gay, straight. Nobody cares. They don't care. But I always laugh when people say, "I don't see color," and I'm like, "Wow, yeah, wow." Then you need to open your eyes because it exists.
Well, until we get to a point where we can guarantee every child in our country a quality education, they have enough
Mhm.
books, they have enough place to go, they can get there, and they've got good teachers, and we can help them regardless of where they live and the how much that particular school district can generate from their tax base, which is how a lot of this happens. If we could
Mhm.
make it education equal and good and very good for everybody, so everybody can read. 30% of kids get out of high school and can't read, a horrible number. And you can't, if you can't read, you can't do anything in this world. And so it's important that we all work together for those things to happen. And I believe that it can happen in our lifetime.
I agree. I'd like to make a distinction about what you said, though. Equal is great, but I think equitable is more important
Oh, great word.
because,
Yes.
some kids don't need, there's a cartoon that I've seen that I think explains equitable really great. And what it is it's these three kids are looking over the fence at a baseball game. One kid's really tall, one kid's medium, and one kid's super short. And so, equally, if they were to be treated equally, they would all be given the same height of box so they could all see over the fence. Well, the tall guy doesn't need a fence. Or a box. He can already see over the fence. The short guy, if he gets a box the same size as everybody else, he still can't see over the fence. And the medium guy, he can kind of see over the fence. So, equity is the tall guy doesn't need a box. The medium-sized guy maybe needs a little bit of a box, and the short guy needs a much taller box. And now things are equitable. So I hope I'm explaining myself correctly, but I think everybody doesn't need the same thing. Like when you're talking about that everybody has an opportunity, yes, everybody should have an opportunity. Some kids need more help because they may be in an area where they don't have a good school. Some kids don't need more help because maybe they are, going to a private school and they live in a white neighborhood where they have white privilege and their family is an upper middle class or upper class. So I think when people talk about DEI, they think, well, we're trying to make everything equal. We're not trying to make everything equal. We're trying to make everything equitable, and we're trying to make sure that everybody has an opportunity for the same things.
That is a really cool little paramount shift right there. I will use that rather than equal. I'll use equitable. They're very close,
Yeah.
but there is a
Mhm.
distinction there, and it's very good. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah. Hmm. Yes.
And by the way, we're talking again with Lisa Demmi. Demmi, Miss Demmi, we've just got, and the reason I called you Demmi is my assistant's name is Demmi. I love her to death. And she's Filipino. But anyway, we've got just about a minute and a half left. I want you to tell our audience anything that you would like them to know.
Listen, at the core, DEI is kindness. It doesn't take money to be kind. It doesn't take special equipment to be kind. You don't have to pre-plan it. Like you don't have to go and look at your calendar and say, Thursday I'm going to be kind, so I need to be ready. You can be kind no matter what. And that is, I tell people to find your inner superhero. Hold the door open. Let someone in traffic. Thank someone when they let you in traffic. I think that kindness is very little used, and it is such a good thing for both sides. So when I'm kind to someone and I see, maybe they're having a bad day. And if you're kind to someone, you've heard those stories where people are like, man, I was having a crappy day and this person told me my dress looked great, or told me that they liked my hair, or whatever it might be, or held the door open for me. And you would get so much mileage from being kind. Like again, I get a good feeling for being kind. They get a good feeling for being kind, especially when it's two people who you would never ever put together. I mean, I call these golden moments. And I think a trainer told me this. I'm not going to take credit for this, but he told me you never know where the gold is. So be open to everything because there's gold in every situation. And even if you think it's something bad, there's gold there.
I want to thank you for saying that. That really is important. Lisa Demmi has been our guest, and go to our website, lisademmi.com. And if I could end with this one thought: if you want true happiness, give happiness to someone else. Thank you very much for being here, Lisa. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you for having me, Kevin.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin@kmmedia.pro.